G'day guys, John here, Chief Instructor with FPV Australia. I thought I'd do this quick little video and bring you up to speed with what's been happening in our industry. A lot has been happening in our industry. The last couple of weeks have been pretty chaotic. And so I thought I'd do this. Our emails and phones have been going off the hook, and I'm hoping this video might answer a whole lot of questions before you pick up the phone or send us an email. But not that we don't like hearing from you, we love it, but maybe this will help. So where are we? We are the 7th of October, 2016. On the 29th of September, 2016, just a little while ago, the new regulations amendments to CASA 101 came into effect. What does that mean in English? It means that people can now fly a sub 2 kilo machine by simply registering on the CASA website, waiting the 5 days and sticking to some standard operating conditions. That is in play right now. So, you know, if you want to register on the CASA website, you can go and do that. There's also a whole bunch of other stuff in the amendments, including flying up to 25 kilogram on your own land, and that brings with it a whole other range of complexities that I won't go into. About a week ago, I was asked to join the Late Line program on the ABC to discuss the drone regulations, and I volunteered for that. I wasn't paid, although some people think I was paid. And just have a discussion with a panel of other people about the drone regulations and whatnot else. And it was a great discussion. I didn't know who was going to be on the panel until the day of the filming, but I mean, that's okay. We had a chat and everybody had points to put forward, and it was great. It was all good. Since then, the internet exploded, and my emails and phones have been running hot. And then even more to that, Nick Xenophon comes out yesterday, Senator Nick Xenophon from South Australia, and says that he will be placing a motion or tabling a motion of disallowance in the Senate next week. What does that mean in English? My understanding of constitutional law is that he will table that motion of disallowance, which means he doesn't like the laws that have come into place on the 29th. And if that motion gets upheld in the Senate, then we go back to how it was on the 28th. The new regulations and all those amendments go away. And I guess CASA and the industry will have to bang our heads together again and come up with a better solution. If that motion is denied in the Senate, nothing changes. We roll on as we are. So since then as well, the phones and the emails have been going hot. So that's what that means. I'm going to just throw a little bit extra in here and just, I want to touch on a couple of things that have come up. There's been a bit of talk about how we've got 15 years or so of data to call on about the risks involved and whatnot else. Well, actually we don't. I've been in this industry commercially for 10 years. The drones that we're talking about in this whole sub 2 kilo space, i.e. Phantoms and I think the Typhoon and now the Mavic and the Karma and all that sort of stuff, they have not been around in their current form for very long at all. In fact, I'll have a stretch and say 2 years. If you really want to be a bit liberal, make it maybe 3 or 4. That's all the time we've got to really understand the impact that these size machines are having. Further to that, it's worse because it's taken about 3 years for them to become so prolific that we now have a problem. So we really don't have 3 or 4 years of data to call on. If you want to average it across the middle, we've probably got about 2. That is a blink, really. We can't make determinations on safety and risk based on that alone. Not possible. So I'm going to forget about the arguments about, how hard will it bounce off a plane and yada. Forget it. Put that aside and let's look at what other precedents have been set in other industries. And the first one that jumps to mind is driving a car. If you want to drive a car, you have to have a license. Why? Let's ask the first question. Why do we need a license to drive a car? There's a number of reasons. One, there's a level of expectation by other road users that you will be educated and trained in driving a car, and that somebody at the end of all of that, after you've trained, somebody in a position of authority has signed off on it, i.e. the dude at the RTA who takes you on your little drive and then you sit in front of the computer and you pass the test. And so there's a level of, not only a level of expectation, but there's a level of achievement that a base standard that you've now risen above to be able to drive. Yeah, before you snide comments about people still don't know how to drive, just roll with it. Now, I hear online and I read online, yeah, well, changing the rules won't stop the idiots. Yeah, it won't stop the guys doing 150 up the Hume Highway either, but that doesn't mean we stop licensing drivers. That's a moot argument. And in fact, it's a silly argument. What we do have though, is we have the licensing, we have the regulatory body, and then we have the police who are out there enforcing those rules. So if you do 150 up the highway, you get picked up, your license gets torn up, or you end up in court and you get dealt with. There's a consequence, right? Why? Because there's a level of expectation that you will adhere to the rules. Great, everybody stays safe on the road, away we go. Well, not everybody stays safe, we've got a road toll, of course. Like was said on the late line, there's a risk with anything. But just because of that doesn't mean we abolish all of the rules that go with it, just because, well, people are still going to die in car accidents. So now let's look at that and relate it to our industry. So instead of sharing road space, we're sharing airspace. Okay, let's forget the impact on the ground and the 2 kilo hitting you in the head. Forget that. Let's look at the capabilities of these aircraft and the fact that you're going to share airspace, just like road space, with other air users. So there should be a level of expectation that the person sharing that airspace has some level of training. Just like now, when the pilot jumps in the plane, he starts flying, he sees another plane flying, he has a level of expectation that that pilot has gone through some sort of training and somebody in a position of authority has signed off on it. Makes sense, right? So why aren't we doing that with our drone industry? Why, even though they're smaller than an aircraft and they're still sharing the space? Just like a car, you can jump in a Mini Minor or a Mini Cooper or whatever they are, or even the little 3-wheeler jobbies, and take it on the road. You still need a license because there's a level of expectation that you're sharing the road with other users, you must be licensed, which means you've been educated, trained and vetted. Makes sense, right? The manned aircraft world is no different. Cars on the road are no different. We could go a step further and say, well, you can't drive a semi-trailer with a car license for obvious reasons, a completely different animal. So maybe do we need to start thinking about, well, what do we do in the drone industry? Do we say, if you want to fly a small drone or a very small drone, there's one level of expectation and training and vetting. And then if you want to step up and fly bigger machines like Inspires and S1000 and whatnot else, there's another level of training. We've sort of got that now with the manufacturer's training, but we've dumped the whole idea for sub 2 kilo. Nah, don't worry about it. No vetting, no training, no nothing. Just fill in a form and sign away. So there's precedences in other industries that we really should be calling on. Licensing is not about making sure people stick to the rules, because we all know and we can all agree that just because you have the license doesn't mean you'll stick to the rules. How many people get booked speeding, right? But what it means is there's a level of expectation by other road users, i.e. other air users, that someone has been trained and educated, and then someone in a position of authority, be it CASA, be it the flight school, somebody, a delegate, I don't care who, someone has signed off on that to say, yep, Billy Bloggs has lifted to a level of standard that is now acceptable amongst other air users. That's all it is. So I think that's what we need to get to. I think we need to forget the argument about whose right it is to fly and how expensive it is to get a license, all that. Forget that and go back and go, step back and go, holistic approach. Righto, we need to set this base level of standard. And that is a level of education and training and then someone being vetted that the rest of the airspace users are happy with, just like the rest of the road space users are happy with when you get a license to drive a car. I reckon that's the best way to go. The whole free-for-all, let's just open the skies to anybody, I think, you know, we could sit and throw it back and cross the fence for ages. We don't have enough time with these small drones in historical data to really call upon. A few years is nothing. I think we need to, because the industry is so young and that technology is booming so fast, we need to now look at other industries and take advice from them and the precedents that they've set because of incidences that they've had with their tech and their industry and bring that into ours. And I think that's a smart approach. Just getting a few guys' opinions and coming up with an idea I don't think is a good idea at this point in time. Maybe we need to look at putting a regime in place that tightens the laws a little bit, and then let's wait 5 years and then we can see what data we can call upon and go, right, now we might be able to make some changes and massage as we see fit. But to open the floodgates and just throw our hands in the air and go, well, you know what, we don't have the data, there's no real, there's no real incidence of this stuff happening, bugger it, we'll just, crazy. Other industries don't do that. I don't understand why we are. So that's what's happening in the world as of the 7th of October. The Senate starts sitting again next week. They could have up until Christmas. I think they've got 15 sitting days after it's tabled, my understanding. I'm happy to be corrected on all of that if you know better than I. So we could see a result as soon as next week. Then again, it might roll on for a while. Look, if you've got any further questions that I haven't answered in this email and you'd like answered, please, in this video, I've got email on my brain, send me an email at john@fpvaustralia.com.au, happy to answer them. You can pick up the phone 02 6112 8551 and our website fpvaustralia.com.au. Happy to talk to you as always, but I hope this video might have answered a few questions that may have been burning in your mind. If not, feel free to contact us and let us know. Hopefully, we all continue to fly safe, because I'm sure that's what everybody wants. And I hope you know we iron all this out very soon, because this industry is awesome. I love it. It's booming. It's growing, and we need to make sure we look after it. So until next time, please, safe skies for all, including manned aircraft, and please think before you fly. Until next time, enjoy.